Alright YouTube, hello, thank you for watching. I'm trying to figure a way today to make this video absolutely as short as possible. And I don't really know any way to do that. So anyway, I said back a very long time ago, I said I'm going to go back on radios for a while. Well, I think the time for radios to end is pretty much here. The weather's changed. There's been no Europe on my radio in a month. And quite frankly, I'm just getting tired of turning the radio on. So I may go back to learning some chemistry. I think there's a really good chance I'm going to do some more high voltage stuff, probably with some flybacks. I might get my high voltage generator out. You definitely don't want to miss that. I have a couple things I got to fix up on it that I tore apart, and I can't imagine I'm going to be putting any chemistry videos on other than maybe one or two. I have lots of hazardous chemicals, and I feel the need to mix them together. So yeah, I'm just not sure what's going to happen here. Honestly, my YouTube channel, I mean, is just, to come right out and tell you, I don't pull punches. My YouTube channel is just really pathetic in my mind. Nobody's interested, and honestly, I really get that. I've thought many times over the past year of just deleting all my videos, but for whatever reason, I still haven't done that yet. I completely get it. I mean, there's a million things on YouTube that are far better than watching this. But yeah, there's much better content than me. Basically, this YouTube channel was, and I know you won't understand this, and I don't expect you to. This was just an experiment, just to see what would happen. I wanted to try it. So if you have any interest in these DDSVFOs, this is going to be the last time, and hopefully this video is going to be one hell of a bang. There's always a chance that what I'm about to try isn't going to work. There's always a chance of things exploding when you mix them together too. Now I know there's at least one person out there who absolutely saw this video coming. So what I want to try to do today is put this oven oscillator in this President Madison. And you might be already thinking, well, Mike, where the hell are you going to put that oven oscillator in that radio, and why do you want to put that oven oscillator in this radio? Well, that's pretty simple. For the past 5 months, I've been pulling my damn hair out, and there's a million things I've wanted to say about this DDSVFO, but haven't said, because I wanted to make absolute certain of a lot of things before I put a video on. And honestly, I don't look at it as a problem with the DDSVFO. What I blame is what's part of the DDSVFO. I blame this piece of junk here. This is a 5351 board. It is a real piece of shit. I'm just going to come right out and tell you. It is a much better thermometer than what it is an oscillator. So what's been going on here behind the scenes for many, many months is constantly I'm going into the menu and changing the frequency on it. If I open the door and the room temperature drops by 2 or 3 degrees, the radio goes off frequency. Once you get the radio set on frequency and the radio's warmed up, if you pull the cover off of it for some reason, within 3 or 4 minutes, easily, your radio is going to be 150 hertz off frequency. It's just that bad. And I'm kind of guessing that some people knew that because, I mean, who the hell puts a BNC connector on the back of their radio? That should have been the telltale sign that something isn't what it's supposed to be. That's why I started doing that. I have BNCs on the back of all the radios to monitor this 5351 board, to constantly be setting it on frequency, which, I mean, could be several times a day, really, depending upon what's happening with the old room thermostat. So that's the goal. Put this oven oscillator and this President Madison on one of these 5351 boards and see what happens. Now, this is another way that it could possibly be done, and to keep this video hopefully under 30 minutes, I'm not even going to talk about it. So we're going to go simplest route. And I like to be thorough, but I'm going to have to leave a lot out of this video because it's just going to be too damn long. So the first thing is to get this one out of here. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pins that need to come out of there. So we lost 1 pin there. And of course they're not going to go back in the holes ever again. Probably have to cut them off and restrip them. Some things need to be said because if you don't say them, people really don't get an idea of what's going on. When I initially bought this, I really had some serious doubts about it, to the point at which I left this board set here for a year before I even considered putting it into the radio, because I undoubtedly knew this was going to happen. You can't expect a $3 oscillator to do really anything other than what it's doing. I wish there was a way I could keep them on there. That looks a little bit better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, we had 6 to start with. We have 6 now. I also had plans of doing a 70 or 100 amp linear power supply, and that's all out the window too. And once again, that's all thanks to 2024. That's just the way it is. You know, as much as I hate to say this, and there's probably a million people out there that know this, the chances of building anything anymore are very, very minuscule because of pricing, because of availability, trying to find old parts, trying to find good parts. I don't really foresee really building anything else in life. And that's really, really sad, because back in the 80s or 90s, I built so much shit it would blow your mind. Actually, I had a bag, a 55-gallon trash bag of circuit boards for various high voltage things. And a couple years ago, I threw the whole bag in the dumpster. And you know, I do regret it, because that was all stuff that you'll never be able to get again. Alright, let's try it again. Good grief. So the plus is to the left and the minus is to the right. That's what we want. And we want this board just slightly over the edge of that board. That's all correct. So, don't really want to put glue on this board just yet. But I need a way to hold this board onto the other one. And I don't want to drill holes through this. So it looks to me like I'm just going to have to glue this, and that's going to be the only way. I was thinking about just drilling holes down through this and putting pins through it, and the pins would come out the back and get wrapped and soldered to hold the board down, kind of like what I do when I put solder wick on a board. But I think in this case I'm going to have to glue it. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Maybe I should have just opted to put 2 damn screws through it. Maybe that's what I should have did. There we are. I don't think their boards are cut completely square. this here may not set down in there because there's a cap and a wire and some other stuff. So I may have to trim this off at some point. Alright, so while that's drying, this bypass cap's got to come out of there. It's going to be in the way. It's an 047. Huh. Nope. Maybe that's not a bypass cap. It's a 471. That's a 470. There was supposed to be a 047 or a double 047 across this PLL that I thought was that cap there. So either that's not the cap I was thinking it is, or they put the wrong cap on it when they made it. That's always a possibility. I think they put the wrong cap on it when they made it, because this is definitely the cap I thought it was. We should get wiggle there. Yep, we do. We should get wiggle right there. Yep, it wiggles. So that is from VCC to ground. That's pretty weird. It's pretty weird to think that they put the wrong cap in it when they made it, but they definitely did. So just stick it across the back of the board. Well, it doesn't really much matter now because the PLL isn't in it, so it doesn't matter a hill of beans if the cap's right or not, but we're just going to leave it there for the sake of continuity. So let's see if this will even go in there. It goes in there. Now it always helps when you can see. But before we get too carried away, I just wanted to make sure it is going to fit in there. I had to bend this cap up the other direction on the back there because it was hitting against this 11 meg crystal. Now before I go too far here, I got to get to the crucial modification. If I miss that, ain't nothing going to change. And that is to cut loose pin 2 of that 5351. And pin 2 comes right down along the side. You can't actually see it where it goes. And it's so close to the ground. See if I can even see it. It always helps if you're about to cut something to be able to see what you're cutting. The inside path right there goes to the corner of the crystal. The outside edge that's exposed there is actually the ground going around the perimeter of it. Doing this should make it a little bit easier to see, but I don't want to get a lot of alcohol on here because that glue still isn't completely set yet. I don't know if the camera can even see that or not right there. Well, that's going to be a real bastard because I have to get a piece of 36 gauge onto that path right there without touching the ground that's literally microns away from it. I don't even know if I can even do that, to be honest with you. I don't think this is even going to happen because I have to have the iron on the wrong side. And the bad thing is there's no other connection point on this board that I can connect to, so they don't connect to anything else other than the crystal. So there's no other place I could attach a wire that would be much easier. It tinned the path. Not sure what's going to happen when I try to put the wire there though. I'm just not so sure about this, because the only way I can really do this is to have a magnifier, and I don't have enough hands to do this. And this magnifier on here is nowhere near enough. I'm honestly not sure that this is even going to happen. Even if I can solder that on there, and I solder it on, then I go to strip this piece of Teflon wire, it's going to rip right off of there, and then I'll be done for. The only way to do this is to try to cut this piece of Teflon and strip it back first. Well, get the cameras out of here and see if I can do this. Well, right there it is. I think I got it. What I had to do is chisel down the side here to cut that ground path back, because there's no other way I would have been able to solder to that. I mean, that soldering iron tip is 4 times bigger than what the width of the path is. So I just kind of chiseled and cut around it. That way when I tried to solder down, I wouldn't inadvertently solder that same point that I was trying to hit to ground. So then this wire is just going to solder down to this chip cap. That's about the best I can do. That wire just didn't want to cooperate with me. Let's see what happens. There's really 2 ways I can do this as far as these grounds go, and I'm not sure which one's the best thing to do. One would be to just tie this power ground, which, keep in mind, is going to be pulling 600 milliamps and then basically 125 milliamps after the oven cuts back, and tie it back to all the common grounds on the DDSVFO that I made so far. I could do it that way, or I could ground this board here, where you see all this solder wick, to this ground plane on this board. If I did that, it's going to be pulling this oven oscillator current through this board down onto essentially where the grounds are connecting here on these couple pins. I'm not sure what to do. I was kind of thinking of maybe just drilling a hole through this board and pulling a wire out the back and running it up the back and connecting it to ground here. If I did that, then this ground here would be basically obsolete, and it would be using the board ground. I'm not sure which way to do it. I'm not even sure that there is room for one more ground in here. All my DDSVFO related stuff all comes back to one common ground down here on the board, right to the negative side of this filter cap. And I'm not sure there's room to get another ground in there. This point right here. I just drilled a hole in there beside that cap to get that ground in there. Try that and see what that does. That was really the only place I could get it. So I guess it's time to try to set this in there and see what's going to happen. That SMA connector is down so low, it's really not feasible to ever be able to get a cable on it, but you know, it was really only there just to test the oven oscillator, so I guess it really doesn't matter. It's going to make it a real pain in the ass to get that VCC wire on there. I see that happening. This is going to be equally challenging, because now I need to get my STL and my SDA lines through the back of the board, coming out the front of the board to attach on the other side over here. But you know, it can all be done. Well, there we are, it's in. Just remember where just remember where you saw it first. Who else would try to do this, really? So now this ground wire is going to go down into that hole I drilled. That's what it's trying to do. It's weaseling its way back out, but it's within limits. Now right about this time you ought to be thinking to yourself, is he going to support that board in there somehow? Yep. I got an impossible idea on how to support that board. I don't miss nothing, so I got something up my sleeve here that's going to be impossible to do. These are going to have to go through this piece of vector board and out the front of the other board. So these are going to have to get stripped back longer. Yeah, it was pretty ugly. I chewed that wire all up. Let's see, which one goes where? This is the part where I kind of need a flashlight. Which one is the SCL and which one is the SDA? Looks to me like the SCL is the top one and the SDA is the one closest to the table, so that would be the red one. So the white one goes up and the red one goes down, and the camera goes off to try to pull this kind of madness. Well, it wasn't pretty, but it went in there. Son of a... Alrighty, it's in there, man. The suspense is building here. I even went through the trouble to add the structural support. I mean, I don't know how much more supportive you could get than that. The structural piece of 12 gauge support wire that it took about an hour to get the bends right on it. But I got her nailed, man. She's 90 degrees dead on. In all my videos I've done on YouTube, I never remember getting to a point in a video where I said, oh my God, I don't know about anybody else, but I just can't wait to see what the hell happens here. I want to know what's going to happen with this radio far more than you do, I assure you. So, you know, it's times like this, I look back on the comment that Justin Ray left me, and he said, man, he said, if you ever took that radio, I can't even say this. He said, if you ever took that radio to somebody, I wonder what the heck they would say. So, you know, here I am thinking, you know, I know a guy that works on radios. Well, I don't know him. That's just the point. I don't know him. He's not too far away from me, I don't think. And I also think the guy is on YouTube. So here was my thinking, if this radio actually works, I'm thinking about taking this radio to him and just kind of drop it off maybe and say, hey, can you check this radio out? Something doesn't seem right with it. And then drive like a bat out of hell to get home. Just to see how long it takes before my phone's ringing off the hook with this guy calling me. I think that guy and I, even though we've never met, I don't know anything about the guy, and I'm not going to mention his name for sure, but I think him and I would get along real good. I really think we would. It's a shame that we don't know each other. Our paths have never crossed. But if this thing works, I have a feeling he'd be envious. Because I damn sure know that I'm envious. So I don't think I made any mistakes. Unfortunately, I couldn't feed the SDA and the SCL line through the back of the board. That was mission impossible. I just had to pull this cable out and solder them onto the front. It was pretty difficult to get in there. The power wire comes over from right here. You can't see it on the underside of the connector there. It goes down and connects here to where all the power lines are bussed together coming out of the on-off relay down here on this little barrier strip. So when I turn this baby on, that oven's going to come on. Other than that, that's the only guarantee I can make. Yeah, this is never before done. I don't even know where to go with this. Well, we're going to have an antenna on it, because I'm just curious if any sound is going to come out of this thing at all. And the bad thing about these radios, the thing that I hate the most, is these Madisons need a speaker. And since this is a special occasion, I'm even going to use my 1970s KLH is going to rock you speaker. I just hope something happens that the speaker actually works. Now we need a BNC connector. I do hear one person on the radio, because this would have been really, really bad. Plug this other cable into the BNC on the back. That would have been a real shame if I'd have got to this point and there would have been nobody on the radio to listen to. Okay, good. Good news, man. There's some people on channel 38. Everything's been shut down for a month. There hasn't been nothing on this cotton picking radio. So we got the frequency counter on, the speaker hooked up, the antenna hooked up, and I gotta flip this box here down to there. You know, if this doesn't work, I don't even know where I'm gonna be. Famous last words before I plug it in. Did I do anything stupid? Well, gentlemen, I give you what could possibly be the world's first DDSVFO running off a OCXO. Yep, the VCO is set in exactly where it's supposed to be, 35183.5. Once you subtract out the 7.8 meg, that puts you right on channel 38. I can't believe I just did this. So on a humorous note, if anyone ever asked you if you think it's possible that a Chinese part can fix another Chinese part, the answer is absolutely yes. A Chinese oven oscillator just fixed a Chinese crystal. Who would have thunk? So it should have been obvious from my other videos on this DDSVFO when I said about a BNC connector being in the back of the radio and the channel 9 switch controlling a relay or something. I don't remember exactly what I said, but the purpose of that was to monitor the frequency change versus temperature of these crazy piece of junk 5351 boards. So when I flip on my channel 9 switch, that connects the frequency counter up on the board in there. That's what I was using to monitor all the frequency drift I was getting. But I guarantee there ain't going to be no frequency drift anymore. That's all out the window. Now I'm driving pin 2 of that 5351, which is the XA input that used to be going to the piece of junk crystal. I'm driving that with exactly 1 volt peak to peak, and it absolutely works.
672 Mobile, West Virginia. Thank you. This is 333 West Coast. Do you copy? Over. Hello, díselo, Daniel, díselo.
So anyway, there's the answer to fix the SI5351 boards. Rip the crystal off the board and build yourself an oven oscillator on 25 megs. Now what that'll do is that will null and void the crystal setting in here. If you did something like this, you'd have to keep it on 25 megs. Of course, you're no longer going to be able to shift the crystal frequency through this menu, but that's a good thing. You'll have to keep this on 25 megs, so it knows there's a 25 meg oscillator on it. But I don't have to go in and adjust this thing all stinking day long anymore. It's a done deal.
They're nice size racks too.
I think this support I made for this will work real good. Just out of a piece of 12 gauge wire, bent in exactly the right angles. I don't foresee that board ever really going anywhere there. Now, it's a bit awkward because, like I said, I mean, I didn't put an awful lot of thought into this. Well, it wasn't really that I didn't put an awful lot of thought into it. It's that I didn't have an awful lot of room to work with. So, in order to adjust a level pot, which will never ever get turned, you'd have to cut a diddle stick off to get into the pot there. And it's kind of the same thing up here. To set the 25 megs on 25 megs, you need to cut a diddle stick off there to get in there to do that. The SMA connector you can get to. It's just a little bit awkward, but it does happen.
I'll be talking to you 5 times or more. And what was your rig and antenna again?
Hey, thanks for watching my video. You take care and have a great day.